Welcome back to the Gold and Alternative Investment Show. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and if you don't know already, you should. I'm a serial entrepreneur, I'm a real estate investor, and I've started this program to help people understand what's going on in this extremely volatile world that we all find ourselves in. And I love to have on the show some really interesting people to talk about what's going on. And today I'm really delighted that I have with me somebody who's very busy. Her name is Carmelle Pavan. I probably pronounced that wrong, but that's okay. You can correct me afterwards. She is the Business and Marketing Director for As Good as Gold Women. Now, there's the trick, there's the key. We're going to be talking about women and finance today. And the tagline they've got is empowering women towards their financial future. Now, why is that important? Well, I think it's important because, firstly, I'm a woman. Now, I've met a number of women around about my age that really didn't understand money. They didn't understand why they needed to care about money, and they didn't understand. And some of these women, you know, they were getting divorced in their, middle age, and they came up against all sorts of challenges. So I'm really delighted you've managed to get some time out of your busy schedule and talk to us today, because it is important, isn't it? So Carmelle, let's start first of all by a little bit of your background and why you thought that As Good as Gold Women, because As Good as Gold Australia has been around since 2013, encouraging and educating Australians and people all around the world about why they should buy precious metals. But you've gone off and you've taken that one step further and said, I want to empower women to understand precious metals. So take us along that journey.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Such a pleasure to be here. And I'm never that busy to speak with you, so it's an honour. Absolutely. I mean, I've learned so much along this journey as well, and mostly it's because of what our female clients are telling me. So initially, As Good as Gold Australia was having, hosting a lot of events in different capital cities around Australia, talking about why precious metals, why gold and silver, what it can do for you, how to get into this space. And the CEO, Daryl Haynes, of As Good as Gold Australia, I knew him from a previous multi-level marketing organisation. And he kept saying, Carmelle, why are women not in the audience? We know women have more disposable income these days. They're becoming a lot more savvy. They're investing, they're running their own businesses. I also personally deal with female founders. So there's enough, and not to mention younger women as well coming up through the ranks. There's enough opportunity, if you like, to talk to women. Why are they not interested in gold and silver? Why are they not coming to our events that we almost market them to death? Always a very full room of 100 to 150 odd people. So the events are working. Where are the women? And I said, look, after a couple of meetings and conversations, I said, yeah, you know what, I'm a woman who also would like to learn a lot more about her financial future. I have a journalist broadcast background. I also have a marketing and PR background, and I've run certain events and ran my own business on and off for a number of years. So I know what it's like also to be on your own and actually look after your own finances as much as it is to educate myself. So I thought, yep, I'm in. I want to help women because in turn it's also helping myself. And I think that there's a lot to say to give back in our society, especially under the circumstances that we are facing today. So that's why and how As Good as Gold Women was born. So as the Business and Marketing Director, obviously I'm doing interviews, speaking to clients, female clients predominantly, and trying to talk to them about their financial future. And the business side of it, well, that's basically buying and selling gold and silver. So As Good as Gold Australia buys and sells precious metals. And that's essentially what I do, but my target mostly is talking to our fabulous females. So that's how we got it off the ground.
And sorry to interrupt you there. When did you get it off the ground? How long has it been going?
3.5 years.
Okay.
3.5 years. Boy, oh boy, has there been such an interesting journey in these last 3 or so years. we're seeing more women come to our events. We're seeing more female clients. But one of the things that I love the most is I was flown to Adelaide, where the head office is, and we set up a couple of interviews. There were about 6 to 8, actually it was about 8 women, a full day of interviews. And that was my first, the first thing I did was, okay, what are some of the female clients telling us about their journey? Why did they buy gold and silver? And what can they tell me so that we can pass on to other women what they, as an example, and if they succeeded, if so, how? So the first 4 women I spoke with, it's interesting you mentioned the demographic earlier. They were around the mid-40 or so mark. Age group, and they had been divorced. So they went through that separation and then the divorce, and then they were left with the house and also the responsibility of the children. But lo and behold, they then had the responsibility of their own finances and their future. And very quickly, we started to find out that they actually didn't know a lot, these women didn't know a lot about their own finances. The husband was taking care of the bills, the mortgage payments, the investments, shares, if you like, paying bills. So there was a huge gap there. And that was the first surprise to me to a certain degree. I have always looked after my own finances, and I've run my own business on and off for a number of years. I've studied business management, but I'm probably not the norm. Speaking to these women, I definitely wasn't. So that's how I started to find out, actually, this is really important. I feel like I'm in a position of privilege. And by that, I mean that I'm this conduit, getting them to tell their stories to then educate other women as well, and understanding what their journey was. So a lot of psychological, emotional and behavioural issues were starting to become very real to me after speaking to a number of doing interviews with a number of our female clients for As Good as Gold women. And that was, I'm not sure if you want me to start talking about sort of the psychological issues that were really...
Yeah, look, I do want to get into the psychological issue, because I do think that it's important that we empower, and I love your tagline, which is empowering women towards their financial future, because I often said to people, a man is not a financial plan. Boys, guys out there, nothing against you, love you all. However, I do think that women need to stand up and say, I need to understand and empower myself about how I can be financially smart.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the women that I gave that example, that first day that I was conducting the video interviews, boy, did they struggle initially. They had no idea. And financially, there were burdens, and they had mouths to feed. So it was a huge lesson for them, a major wake-up call. And somehow, so that was a similarity. Everyone has their own journey. I understand one woman actually didn't know how to pay for petrol, because everything was paid for. And she actually started talking to me about the Cinderella syndrome, which the Cinderella syndrome, have you heard of that, Kerry?
I have heard of it, but just remind me.
Yeah, it's not about finding your glass slipper. What the Cinderella syndrome is, it's just a psychological, well, I guess psychological behaviour that comes from the myth of the Cinderella story, the fairy tale story, where women will always find their prince, their knight in shining armour. What does that mean? It's not about love. I mean, that's beautiful if it is, and I certainly believe in that. But it's about, I'll find someone, generally the male, and he'll look after everything. I won't have to worry. He'll look after everything. By that, everything means establishing the finances, looking after the home, the family from a financial perspective. And now I've got women who still have that, I mean, to this day, it still permeates our psyche. It still permeates what we think, both men and women. But the reality is sometimes that just doesn't happen. Divorce rates are what, 50% now in this country, worldwide as well. So when I talk about empowering yourself towards your financial future, things can change. You know, there could even be, you know, sad to say, even a death of a spouse. So you're left with the burden, let alone the children. What happens to your own psyche? What happens to the fact that you've never learned from an earlier age how to look after your finances. And this was becoming loud and clear from the younger ones to the older clients I was speaking with. It all started to, for them, and I agree with this to a very large extent, what you inherit from your own upbringing. Did your father or did your brother or did your parents talk to you as a woman, as a little girl actually, about finances? Because that was one of the major issues that then came up, was also their own education, their own stories.
So do you find that, you're a couple of years, 3 years down the track now, are you finding that women are more savvy these days? Like, so the women that are coming to you now, and those that did come to you, and you said the first four, they were in their mid-40s and they'd got divorced. Were they in financial trouble? And if so, why were they looking at gold and silver? Because most women that I talk to, if they're financially in trouble, all they care about is how to put food on the table. The last thing on their mind is, I'm going to buy gold and silver, because they think you've got to be a gazillionaire to be able to invest in gold and silver.
Totally correct, Kerry. The first thing is that women generally don't take risks the way men do. That is a given. They don't. Secondly, it's about really starting to do your own self-research. Find out, well, obviously the research starts with who are you now? Who are we? Who am I as an individual? So they have to go through that psychological journey around understanding, well, who am I? Secondly, where do I go for education? And the internet, the library, there are mountains of resources. And so that's the journey they started on. Okay, I can pick myself up now and I can start to learn. I don't know how to manage my finances. I'm going to learn how. And from there, somewhere along their journey, they started to realize, number one, that you can buy gold and silver. In fact, it's so simple, debunking the second myth, which is, oh, gold's only for the wealthy. I can't afford it. So when you're talking about, and I've got a little coin here, I just wanted to show you, this is just one silver round. It's one silver coin. And at the moment, it's around the $30 mark. That's a couple of lattes. So just buying one silver coin.
Couple of lattes, $30. How many lattes? What do you buy? Lattes?
Large size.
Can you hold that silver coin up again?
Absolutely.
Okay, so say somebody says, okay, I've got $30, I can buy one of those. Yep. Why would they, why bother?
Absolutely, great question. So the financial future, so empowering towards your financial future, this is your financial future. One of my clients also refers to it, as do I now, as a bit of an insurance. The reason for that is precious metals, they're precious and they're valuable, and it's physical money. Now, you know that we obviously have been to certain events, and we've read and read literature and spoken to people, and we both know that this is real. This is real money. It's real currency. The dollar is woefully fluctuating. The property market's all over the place and plummeting. The share market's all over the place and plummeting. This is solid. It's real, and you own it. And you know what? Well,
you can't. I guess one of the things that I was talking about earlier was you can't print it. Because
you can't print gold,
you can't print silver.
And you can't.
Right now, as we're sitting here in the coronavirus world, which, if people are watching this a year from now, maybe it's not something that's front of mind. But right now, as I'm talking with Carmelle, the governments around the world are printing paper like it's going out of fashion. You can't print.
That's
you
right.
can make it, but you can't print it.
And there's a 5,000-year history of particularly gold. There's 5,000 years of history. The power who has the gold, the person, other than the man, the person who has the gold has the power. And there's never a truer time in history than right now that is true. The reason why this is so valuable is you keep it, you store it, or you store it, you have it in storage. We have a vault facility, or you have your own storage. And when one day may come that you want to sell it, the inference is that you'll make money on it. And that's what happened to some of the women. As I mentioned, the first lot of female clients I was talking to, how did they secure their financial future? They learned how to buy and sell. and they then started to buy more so that they're increasing their wealth for a future time when they want to then sell. Now, at the moment, gold is around $2,670 an ounce today. I had a look at the spot price. Silver's $26. Now, silver is so inexpensive. And then
now
again,
I'll interrupt you there just for 1 second, because a lot of people, especially here in Australia, what they do is they hear the gold price is $1,738, and
US.
so they think that that's what it is. So what Carmelle has been talking about is that is the Australian dollar gold price. And one of the things that we as women have to understand is that often on the television news, you'll hear about the gold and the silver price, but they'll quote it in US dollars.
Correct.
What we've got to look at, ladies and gentlemen, when you're listening to this, you've got to look at the fact that the Australian dollar will fluctuate. It could go down, it could go up. But if you look at the price of bullion over the past year, it's actually increased in value by 16%, which is not a bad return for those people that say, it doesn't give me a dividend, it's not really an investment. No, what you're doing is, as Carmelle said earlier, it's really an insurance policy. So if the Aussie dollar loses value, your silver and your gold will hold value. So it's all about protecting and growing your wealth. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. And that's why using that term insurance, that's a very good term. You're insuring against something in the future where you'll cash in and you'll be able to reap the benefits of the profits. So, I mean, I have clients who buy, and we do it certainly with As Good as Gold Australia, 1 coin per week. That's how I started, through to 1 ounce of gold, through to $100,000, through to even $1 million and plus. There are so many people with so many different stories that we sell to, that it really has debunked the myth that you don't have to be wealthy. There's also the superannuation, self-managed superannuation fund as well, where we recommend, as do many other financial planners and those who really understand, and certainly clients who want to establish or manage their own self-managed fund, self-managed super fund, that at least 10% put in precious metals. It is absolutely a very solid foundation to which you can then purchase, and again back against your future. So that's one. So yeah, basically that's in a nutshell one of the main reasons why the female clients have then started on the journey of this success. What then delights me even more is then they start telling their friends, and then they also start to educate their friends and their children. And so I have women now who are mothers who have educated their children, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, who understand the value of the coin. One of them, the little boy, puts a pirate face on it, and he calls it treasure. Well, when you kind of think about it, he's not far from the truth there, is he? Not far at all.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
The old treasure hunt was, the silver coins and the gold coins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Carmelle, let me ask you this. Do you think women are getting more savvy? Have you seen a change in women's attitudes? Are you seeing more people, more females stepping up and saying, I need to educate myself? And what advice would you give those women that are not already taking control?
I absolutely have the pleasure of seeing more and more women taking care of their own financial futures. Absolutely. More and more women are also buying gold and silver. And they say to me, I can't believe it's that easy. You can actually go online and just buy it, and then it'll just be delivered to wherever you like, or have it in storage. It is really that simple. So really breaking through that myth that you don't have to be wealthy to afford it. Secondly, we have a laugh sometimes in my marketing materials, and I send often to promote what we're doing, how easy it is, why now is the best time. Now is always the best time, get in now. We say that, I've got this little saying that it's a secret, you don't have to tell anyone. So we have some women, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm being honest as well, they just buy their own and don't tell their partners. Because you never know what's happening, rainy day around the corner, you just don't know. So yes, I am seeing more women, and different ages too, Kerry. Younger, straight out of university,
Wow.
through to older, running their own business, retired, thinking about retiring, property's not doing well, sell the property, or investment property if you like, not the house you're living in, and purchase precious metals. So there's definitely been an upswing, and there's more programs, there's more books, there's more information online, there's more videos. We certainly produce, a truckload ourselves, and through As Good as Gold Australia. You are involved in education through events. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I do encourage people to do is, I often say, you're saying, shh, don't tell anyone, but I often say, listen, don't sell your house and your children. This is just a way for you to get some exposure, and don't do anything like, neither of us are financial advisors. We're here to educate you, but you've got to do your own research. You've got to make sure that you understand what you're doing. And you've also got to understand that the price goes down and it goes up. Now, I don't recommend that people should try. I'm not a trader, so I'm a holder. I'm a buyer and I hold. I buy and hold. That's what I do. But
me too.
I guess understanding getting yourself educated about finance, and then understanding how precious metals fits into your portfolio. And by the way, those of you that are listening, you're all different. You've all got different needs. So look, if you're concerned about anything, you can always educate yourself, but educate yourself properly. All right. And as I said before, don't sell your house and your children, but you should have some exposure. So Carmelle, when you were doing the interviews, what was one of the more unusual ones? And we don't need any names or anything, but what was one of the more unusual, I guess, interviews that you had with somebody that when you were interviewing them, you sat there and you went, oh my goodness, really? Were there any of those sort of, I guess, aha moments where, it might help people that are listening to this?
Yep. A few, but two jumped to mind. One was a really lovely woman who absolutely had no idea, after a 20-year marriage, no idea whatsoever, didn't even know how to pay a bill. Because it was all done for her, and she never learned. Probably a middle child in the family. Her father never taught them. Mother never looked after the finances. So that's talk about the Cinderella syndrome. She absolutely bought that. One of her comments that really jolted me was, I didn't know how to pay for petrol when I go into the service station, because we had a card and it was all on there. So coming from that to sitting there confidently telling me how successful she's been through buying and selling and making money out of gold and silver, that they're the kind of moments that I think that you're actually educating me. I have enormous respect in terms of your resilience. And how did she do that? Through taking a bit of a risk, but certainly understanding again who she was, going to basics, and then understanding, okay, I need to self-educate. I'm going to read, I'm going to listen, I'm going to make up my own mind, and taking those small steps. She might have started with one silver coin a week, and then you build. You see it accumulating. You start to get on top of things, and then you start to go to the next level. And that's isn't that part of life? You don't jump in boots and all. We don't, as women, we don't take as many risks, as I said before, as men. We know that as a fact. And when you have responsibility of other mouths to feed, you definitely don't take those risks.
Yeah.
Another woman was she was becoming an engineer through at university, and her parents wanted her to do something else. So she put herself through university. She moved to another state. The $2 rice noodles, had no money, but was really smart in terms of what she was doing, her studies. She was maybe 18, 19, maybe 20. And she started investing. There was something that she heard at university about buying gold and silver. Wow. And I think it was around the Bitcoin, Bitcoin, that .com, and then the Bitcoin, all of that era. Seems so long ago now. And others, some of her uni friends were buying Bitcoin, and she decided to do the opposite, buck that system, and bought some precious metals, bought some gold and silver. and they would make fun of her. So her university mates would make fun of her. Well, she lived to tell the tale, and she's was one of the interviews again, and being a younger woman, and she is so savvy now. She has a great portfolio. Like you said before, she diversifies, but she's definitely made sure that she's bought and continues to buy gold and silver as part of her portfolio diversification. And the returns, if she sold that gold and silver right now, the returns will be astronomical for her.
Yeah, which is great. I think what you were saying before is quite, it's quite good. Not again, we're not here to give advice per se, but you don't have to have $1 million or even $100,000. As Carmelle said before,
Right.
you know, $30 will get you a silver coin, and keep it simple. Quite often, it's the little things that then add up. And what, you know, the eighth wonder of the world is compounding. So
Correct.
1 silver coin a month, 12 by the end of the year, 5 years down the track, you've got 60, and you think, wow, how did I get here?
Correct.
Slowly and methodically, and that's what's really important. You know, we don't know what's going to be happening in the future, but Carmelle, in terms of your journey, you said that you've learned a lot. Before you got involved with setting up As Good as Gold Women, which, by the way, congratulations. I think it's a fantastic idea, because I do think we need to encourage women to step up and lay their own foundations. And by the way, if you're got the best marriage in the world, still educate yourself. It's important. So,
educate your partner.
Yeah, both of you get educated. It's really, really important. So what's been your biggest aha moment over these past few years? When did were you already investing in gold and silver before you set up As Good as Gold Women?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, wow.
No, I wasn't. So I did my research, and then so my own personal research. Then I started very small investing. I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to give As Good as Gold Australia a go, because coming into it new. And I wanted to understand everything about the business. So as a businesswoman, I also wanted to make sure they had checks, balances, they were trustworthy, I could rely on them, their customer service. I put them through the mill before I thought, okay, I'm jumping in, because I didn't want to make that risk, you know, take that chance with money. It's too precious for me. I earn, you know, I work damn hard for it. And I don't have anyone to look after me and my finances. So I'm the only one. So I wanted to be very, very sure I was entering into something that I could believe in. And that was important for me. If I didn't believe in it, and if I didn't try it and thought that it was something great for me personally, then I have to have that integrity and make that decision based upon the integrity. So that's how I got into it. And then the second part was when I realized, wow, there's so many women that could benefit if I get the message out there. And I'd like to be, you know, in that process, because that makes me feel better about doing something positive.
I think that that's so important, but how do we get the message across? Are we finding, because I still find that there's a lot of people that they're just, you know, not listening. Are you finding that, or do you think people are more open these days?
I am really fortunate that people come to me now because they are open. That's the truth. I've spoken to my friends and my family. They don't want to know. That's fine. So what is that saying? When the students
when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Thank you. So I just do what I do, which is I'll put out some marketing, some information, we'll do events, and whoever wants to find out more, I'm always available. And those who don't, that's fine, because there are others who are ready. So for me, the easiest and the biggest pleasure I have is actually helping people who are already really keen. Hey, I've got this much money, let's say 10,000 or 20,000, let's say. What can I do with that? And so what I do is, so once you have a certain amount, it's very easy to then say, well, are you interested in gold or silver? At the moment, we're saying 50-50. 50 gold, 50, so 50% gold and 50% silver. Well, obviously, if you have $2,000, you can't afford an ounce of gold, given it's 2,600 odd Australian dollars. So silver is the best return, absolutely. And the reason for that is you can buy more for less dollars. However, if you've got 10, 20 and more, purchase half gold, half silver. And then I work with my team and we put a quote together for our client to say, this is what we recommend, and have a nice split of some coins, maybe some smaller bars, maybe some larger, because it's better to diversify in your own portfolio of precious metals than just put everything into 2 major bars, let's say, because it's easier. You can't cut a bullion. You can't cut a bigger bar, but you can, if you have a few of these, you can easily sell those, and we can buy it back, or there's so many other places that you can also sell to if you need to have that turn it into cash.
Plenty of places these days that will buy your gold and silver, ladies and gentlemen. Carmelle, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I just want to ask you one quick question, and that is, if people want to find out more, have you got some educational resources on the website?
Yes, just go to asgoodasgoldaustralia.com. That's our website. Well, As Good as Gold Australia. And then if you wanted to have a look at As Good as Gold Women, that's also there. So that's As Good as Gold Women. That's probably the easiest way. There's a lot of interviews with our chief economist, John Adams, with various other experts, Richard Salanto recently, so many others that names escapes me at the moment, but there's a lot out there. And maybe that's the first thing you can do is, jump on our website and maybe have a listen to some interviews and start doing your own research. Contact me absolutely if you want to. I'm always available, and it's an absolute joy to help people, because as I said, Kerry, I'm not pushing anyone. People are coming to me because they're ready to talk. And that's a really easy way to start a conversation for me.
And that's all we're doing. We're having conversations.
Yeah.
Know that these days we live in very volatile times. You do need to get educated. You do need to be resourceful. Do your own research. But now you know that there's an area where it's specifically targeted towards women. There'll be interviews on the website. And maybe learn from the other women that have got started, because I've watched a couple of the interviews and it's fascinating. These were women that didn't understand anything about what to do and how to buy gold or silver. And so Carmelle talks to them, and you can listen to their journey. So listen to some of those journeys and see how, if it works for you, great. But just be aware that governments are printing a lot of what I call the funny money. Paper money.
Yeah, we're laughing now.
So, excuse me. Thank you so much for talking to us today at the Gold and Alternative Investment Show. And we'll probably talk to you again towards the end of the year. But in the meantime, I'll put the links below in the comments. Thank you again for watching. And don't forget, it's your money and it's your research. Take care of yourselves and be educated. Stay well. I'll see you next time.